Hi everyone, my name is Claire Schimmel and this is my week 5 video journal. This week I'm going to focus on chapter 6 from our class textbook. This chapter was pretty good, so let's get started. Let's start on page 106, talking about how we mature as adolescents. And how the media kind of shapes how we mature. This just kind of made me think about how different it was when, say, I was in that phase of my life versus people who are going through it now, adolescents now, and what they're seeing and what they're comparing themselves to, and just the sheer amount of things they're exposed to, I think, is a lot more than when I was going through this. So that's interesting. Like, our book talks about Facebook profile pictures and things and how we look at that. But I think social media has just really progressed probably since this book was written. So I think adolescents are seeing a lot of things when they're going through that time. I thought it was also really interesting to read about the plastic surgery. This is something that is very common here in Korea for women to get plastic surgery. It's when girls turn 18, it's very common for them, like as a finishing high school present, to get their eyelids cut. It's like very normal. Like, everybody gets it done. And I can remember one day in my classes with my high school students, we were talking about something about beauty standards or something like that. And one of my students, Sienna, was like, yeah, a Vicky teacher, who is my boss, said that if I cut my eyelids, I will look good. It will look good on me. And I was like, Vicky teacher told you that you would look good with your eyelids cut. She was like, yeah, like it was no big deal. And I'm like, I cannot even imagine as a teacher telling my student, like, yeah, if you get some plastic surgery, like, you'll look really good, right? That's just crazy to me and something we would never do back home. But then, it makes me think of culture, and that's completely normal here. Like, that's fine. She didn't take offense to it. Like, that was just how it is. So I'm like, that's also something in a classroom setting where you have people from all these different countries and places that our ideas about beauty and what is okay and what's not okay, what we talk about, what we say, is going to be different. So yeah, that was an interesting story. Let's go on to the next page. I like on page 109, I guess, the teacher that they had spotlighted in this chapter, talking about how if you talk about these like kind of topics, and like kids show an interest in it, to kind of get them to do a writing assignment about it, because she said she noticed that they were writing longer, more in-depth, like self-reflective kind of pieces. So I was like, I should get my high school girls to write about plastic surgery, and how common it is in Korea, how they feel about it. That could be like a whole little lesson, and I think they would be really into it. So that was a good idea for me to read. Let's go on to page 111. This page was talking about the Lionsgate advertisement that was really inappropriate and kind of gruesome to be just out in the open for a lot of people to see. And this made me think of, so we see that and we're like, oh, that's bad, that needs to be taken down, whatever. But think about how many things kids these days, middle school, high schoolers, are seeing on their cell phones every day that we don't even realize that they're looking at. Everybody has a cell phone these days, I feel like, especially middle school and high school, even elementary school. So think about all the things they're being exposed to on a daily basis that we don't even realize, that parents can't really monitor, especially because as their parents, they didn't grow up in a time where everybody had a cell phone and everybody was connected, and there's so much media, so many adverts coming at you, all of these things all the time. So I think as parents, that's hard to control, unless you really take the time to educate yourself on what's out there, what should I block, should my kids have a cell phone, right? That kind of thing. You could question all of that. So this kind of made me think that, like, kids are a lot less naive than we give them credit for. I think they see a lot of things They're on the internet all the time. They know a lot more than we think that they do, right? In good and bad ways, I guess. Um, okay, so next page, 113. Um, I loved this paragraph, saying like, but whether we like it or not, media messages shape people's beliefs, attitude, and values. That's something that's never going to change. Good, bad, whatever. That's just life these days, right? So it's kind of, we have to accept it, and we have to learn how to make it the best for us, right, and for our students. Um, so so it's basically saying we can't sit here and lecture students about what they consume on social media, how bad it is, how negative the effects are, blah, 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 because they're not going to want to hear that. I know if I was in middle school or high school back in the day and my mom or a teacher was trying to tell me about something that I'm doing, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from them because you're old and you don't know anything, right? So it's really, the book is really talking about how we kind of have to lead students to those answers, but not really go into it hard of saying like, this is bad, you shouldn't do this, right? Because they're going to reject that. They don't want to hear that. So it's kind of like, as a teacher, obviously we have more life experience. We've learned about these things. But when you look back on things that you've learned, nobody learned it for you. You did it for yourself, right? So we kind of have to do that for our kids. Show them these things, help them answer these questions, and maybe they will learn these things on their own because we can't force them to have these opinions, right? So I kind of came up with some questions. We could ask, like, how do you feel when you see these kind of advertisements, or when you go on Instagram, or when you're on Twitter? Why do you look at these things? Why do you follow these people? Do they make you feel good? Do you like her clothes? Do you, just kind of getting more in-depth questions of kind of getting those wheels turning of, like, why am I consuming this? Why am I looking at this? So that was interesting. So guide students to consume whatever they want as long as they feel good was like a little note that I wrote, which I think is good. You want to feel good when you see things, and what is the effect, So page 115, this was very eye-opening for me, and I'm not quite sure if I'm connecting this in the right way, but I'll explain and let's see if I'm right. So page 115 is talking about how much the media is in like controlling news and things that we get. So towards the bottom of the page, it's talking about contradictory messages. So does mass media's use of contradiction and juxtaposition create a surrealistic frame that abandons logic, reason, and sequence? And it's talking about having a spectator mentality when it comes to social and political knowledge. So when we're getting mixed messages, it's kind of hard for us to form an opinion, right? So when I read this, it really made me think of Colin Kaepernick and everything that happened with the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on at home now, but back 4 years ago, I looked it up. So 4 years ago, when Colin Kaepernick was playing for the 49ers, he knelt at the first game on September 1st, 2016. It was like their last preseason game was the first time that he knelt on the field during the national anthem. And before this, he had just been sitting on the bench. So 2016 was the first time that he knelt during a game. So I can remember when this was happening, the media kind of had two ways of showing it to us. One, peaceful protesting. He wants people to know what's going on. He wants to inform people, and this is his way of showing that. The other way is he's being disrespectful to our country. All these people are watching him, being so rude, blah, blah, blah. So you get it like in these two forms, and it's kind of hard to form an opinion. You don't really know where to stand because you don't know what to believe. So like that paragraph really made me think of how media can really, it just has a huge effect on our lives, and even things we don't even realize. And look at what's happening now. That was 4 years ago, and look at it now. So that was really eye-opening to me. And it's even like what news source you decide to watch? Are you a Fox News person? Are you a CNN person? Those things even are such differences. Um, so it's just very eye opening for me. Um, so it's just how we can see things differently, right? So I'm not sure if that was what that meant, but that's what it made me think of. So let's keep going. Next page, 116, advertising, identity, and pleasure. It's talking about how brands make a lot of money off of advertising. Teens see things that they like, and they're like, oh, I want to be like her, I'm going to buy it. And I guess this book was written a few years ago, so it's gotten even more intense these days. Like on Instagram, say you follow an influencer and you love her outfit, you can literally like touch the picture and it will have like a burn, burn, like dots where you could buy her top, her pants, her earrings, her shoes, like just in an instant. Like it's just keeps developing, and it's so just easy to click, touch, pay, buy, right? Um, and then that makes you think of, you know, your favorite influencer, you love her, but she also has these motives of why she's doing it, because she's making money off of this as well. So that's just interesting to see how social media is progressing, how the advertising is progressing, how the consumers are changing, how their buying has changed. And these things that are will never stop changing, which is just crazy. You just have to stay educated on these things because they're changing so often, right? So yeah, basically wrapping up this chapter for me. I think it's really important as teachers that we don't preach to our kids, that it's going to be more of guiding them, helping them kind of see the light, if you want to say that, or just kind of, you don't want to make them feel ashamed. I think that's what the book said about what they choose to see, what they like, their lifestyles, but kind of like looking at it more critically, I guess, to see like, is this really benefiting me? Is this positive? Does this make me feel good? And I said to help students understand media and all of its purposes, right? It's not just purely entertainment. Some of it is news. Some of it wants you to buy something, right? It's kind of, what are their motives, right, of the things that you're consuming? Helping students question what they consume and what they see on a daily basis, and guiding students towards their own realizations. And again, it's not something we can do for them. They have to do it. They have to want it for themselves. Yeah. So that's what I got from this week. Thank you for watching. Bye.